welcome to our video of the Battle of Papelotte by Jonathan and Charlie. He's my 10-year-old son, and we're going to be playing using the general d'armée rules. Hope you enjoy the video. We'll probably put it up in several tranches, and please give us some feedback. Cheers. The start of the Battle of Papelotte, we have the Hanoverian Brigade, Dutch-Belgian Brigade, holding the centre. And we have a Nassau Brigade in Papelotte Farm, being attacked by Charlie with a light cavalry brigade. And we have two infantry brigades waiting to move up from the French. We're just rolling for ADCs and activation. The Allies have got artillery assault on the battery supporting the Nassaus, and the Dutch Belgians in the centre have gone hesitant. Charlie is just rolling for the French. We'll be back in a second. The French have just completed their movement. The infantry brigade in the centre moving forward towards Papelotte, and the menacing British Hussars. But to support them, we've got the whole brigade of French light cavalry moving up. So look at the French light cavalry. Here, the actual units we've got are the 1st Chasseurs and the 6th Chasseurs. Another view. And the French infantry brigade moving forward. And there's the opposition. Nassau battalion in the trees. Some Nassau riflemen defending the position, supported by some British artillery on artillery assault orders. Firing's just taken place. French horse artillery has caused a casualty on the British Hussars. Nassau skirmishers have caused a casualty on the French skirmish screen, and an artillery shot from the British battery has caused a casualty on that particular French column. The other artillery battery way over here is holding its fire because everything's still at long range. That's the end of the shooting phase. Both sides allocate their ADCs to their artillery, and the French horse artillery battery gets infantry assault off, and no brigades are hesitant. Nassau's British battery also gets infantry assault, but unfortunately the reserve Hanoverian battalion is hesitant, and the French win initiative for the turn. The British Hussars have now charged the French assaulting brigade. The French passed their discipline test and formed square. The cavalry have now completed their charge test, and unfortunately they weren't able to break the square, and they've got to retire, taking one casualty, and the square remains unaffected. At the end of the movement phase, the French light cavalry have moved up to threaten the flank of the British Hussars. We'll take some flanking fire from the Nassau battalions and their skirmishers. Beginning of turn 3, and we've rolled for ADC allocation and initiative, and the French, unfortunately, their big cavalry brigade, despite having a re-roll, has gone hesitant. The infantry brigade is active. Against them, the Dutch, Belgian and the Nassau brigades are active, and yet again the Hanoverians have gone hesitant. Let's roll for initiative. Oh no, we have rolled for initiative. The Allies got 7 and the French got 10, so the French have initiative again at the start of turn 3. With Charlie's cavalry being hesitant, it's been a fairly slow turn on turn 4. The French infantry have stayed in square to protect themselves from the British Hussars, and the French Chasseurs, the right-hand brigade from their perspective, the left-hand one on this shot, has pulled back a little bit just to get itself out of musket range, and otherwise they've remained where they are. Similarly, the British Hussars have pulled back slightly to give the artillery a clearer field of fire, And the Nassau infantry have also sidestepped a little bit to their left to again give the artillery brigade bigger field of fire. Otherwise, pretty much as nothing has happened, and I think we're just likely to see an exchange of artillery shots as we complete turn 4, and we'll just take those shots now.
I can't shoot.
Alright, it's hotting up now. The French are going for it. The French are trying to attach their general for glory to their Chasseur brigade, which they're looking to charge into the British Hussars. The British are staying on infantry assault. So let's roll for the French first, Charlie. Let's see what we can get. 1 dice only to see if you activate the Chasseur brigade. 6, they're activated and glory has gone off. Let's see if you activate the infantry brigade. Yep, they've activated as well. Now let's see if the Nassau brigade is activated. Yes, it is. The Dutch-Belgian brigade is also activated, and then the Hanoverian brigade is also activated. For the first time ever, all brigades on the field are active. We'll now move into the charge phase after we try initiative. Let's both roll 2d6, Charlie, and it's a straight roll off, but the French had initiative last turn, so if you beat me, you go first. The British have got an 9. And the French have got an 11. So the French have initiative, and they'll be their charges first. Expect to see those chasseurs wheeling in. The French cavalry have indeed charged. The chasseurs with their second wing of the same regiment, a very, very large regiment, in support, and the first chasseurs in support of them. The British artillery is going to fire at the French hussars, French chasseurs as they come in for the charge. We'll see the effects of that now. Right, just before we get to complete the charges and the firing, having completed the rout of the majority of the French assault on the English line, the Scots Greys are sweeping across the field and are just approaching Donzelay's division. And we see they've just joined the table now. Lucky, I think, those French infantry battalions have already formed square. We'll now go on and do the combat in the centre. Be back in a second with the results. Let's do this combat live. So Charlie, you'll need 5 blue dice for your chasseurs. And I need 5 for the hussars. Okay, now let's get through the adjustments. Is anyone elite? No. Is anyone heavy cavalry? No. Anyone form lancers? No. A large unit? No. A small unit? No. General attached?
Yeah.
Charlie, you get 1 extra combat dice, so that should make you up to 6. And you're meleeing with a land, so that should make you up to 7. You have got 2 casualties, so that has no impact. And the hussars have 5 from memory. So the hussars are unformed and with more than 4 casualties, so they lose 2 dice. No one's attacking in the flank or rear, that's it. So the British only have 3 dice and they get 1 casualty. Anything more than a 4, Charlie? How many have you got?
So I've got 4 dice.
So it's 1 by 3. So it's a cavalry melee, winner by 3. So the winners take the ground and the losers rout. We'll just complete the movement. Things not looking so good for the Allies. The chasseurs have broken the hussars, which have fallen back to here, unformed and in retreat. And they burst through the Dutch-Belgian battalion, so they have also become unformed. And that's the end of turn 4. So we have a strong French cavalry attack in the centre, which might well burst through, but we do have the Scots Greys coming on the flank. Perhaps they can slow the French advance. And yes, those battalions were in square, but in this turn have taken the opportunity of forming themselves into column. Let's hope the French keep initiative, and perhaps they can go back into square again, or they may get charged by the Greys. We'll see what happens in turn 5 next. It's the start of turn 5, and Duret, the French commander, surveys the battlefield. His brigade in reserve, his brigade assaulting Papelotte, his cavalry moving up to the attack with his foot artillery battery, horse artillery battery in reserve. Maybe time to move that up. The shaking Dutch-Belgian line could do with some reinforcement. The Hanoverians in reserve with the retreating British Hussars. And the only hope for the British, or at least the best hope for the British at the moment this round, the Scots Greys about to come into action. Let's see how the ADC allocation goes and who gets initiative this turn, turn 5. Somewhat tragically for the French, the light cavalry brigade has gone hesitant right in front of all the Nassau guns. On the Allied side, the Hanoverians are hesitant, while the infantry brigade for the French is under orders. Right, it's the British turn, and to their great benefit, they've won the initiative. So we're going to see the Scots Greys charge the French infantry brigade. Charlie, could you roll a reaction test to see if the infantry battalion can form square? So you need to roll 7 or more.
They can.
10. So they form square. Let's just move the Scots Greys up to the edge of the square, and then we'll do the charge in due course. Any other charges for the British?
No.
I think I'm doing the British, Charlie. So I think I choose, and no, there's no charges because the only battalion that is in position 2 is unformed. So that's it. And any charges for the French?
Yes.
You can't charge with the light cavalry brigade. They've gone hesitant, unfortunately, Charlie.
So I am probably going to try and...
No, the whole brigade's hesitant, so it can't move forward. It can move back.
Can I try and push in my infantry then?
Yeah, we'll have to do that during movement phase. So no charges from the British, from the French rather. You finish forming that square up, and then we'll move on. So as Charlie just reminded me, we now need to roll for the reaction of the Scots Greys charging the square. All right, so Scots Greys start with 2d6. They've got no supports. They roll a 6. Looking at the charge table, no general attached. They are heavy cavalry, so they get +1. They're not unformed. They're charging. No casualties. No casualties. Okay, so they've got a 7. Charlie, roll 2d6 for the French. You've rolled a 9, and I think you get +2 for cavalry. So you're 11 versus 7. So that's -4. Cavalry versus infantry. Cavalry retire 1 casualty. Defenders stand. So there we go. You've repulsed the Scots Greys. Let's do the retirement, and then we'll move on to normal movement. Turn 5 is movements complete. Quite complicated. The chasseurs are pinned in front of the Dutch-Belgian light infantry. Didn't want to retire because that would put them right in front of that British artillery battery. The 2nd Regiment ummed and ahed for quite a bit and then swung round to face off against a potential charge from the Scots Greys, while the 3rd Chasseur Battalion edged forward. The French infantry continued their advance, the battalions in the 2nd line moving forward, becoming the new 1st line. Meanwhile, the French horse artillery battery has limbered up its crew there as well as the gun carriage, and are starting to redeploy to the other flank to potentially have a go at the Scots Greys and the more open ground over here. Meanwhile, on the Allied side, the Hussars have reformed, as have the Dutch Belgians that were broken through. Now we'll move on to the firing phase, and we'll come back with the results of the firing in a minute. Turn 5 firing. Okay, this is the end of turn 5, and the firing's been complete. Pretty effective, but hasn't broken the French. So the Dutch Belgians did an excellent volley into the French and caused 4 casualties. They had to take a discipline test and they have become unformed. Similarly, the artillery battery on the hill fired into the rear of this chasseurs regiment and again caused 3 casualties in a discipline test. But Charlie managed to roll a 10, so they were unfazed by it. All other battalions were out of range. So that's the end of turn 5. We'll see what happens in turn 6. Right, the start of turn 6. Good rolls for the French. All brigades are active. And the general of the light cavalry brigade has joined his parent unit. Or his unit, and he is going to attach with glory. For the British and Allies, the Dutch Belgians, the Hanoverians are all active, but unfortunately the Nassau on the hill, which includes the artillery battery, are hesitant. Despite that, the British retain the initiative for this turn. Charges. I think it'll be down to those Scots Greys again to save the day for the Brits. Let's see if we can break some of those chasseurs. Let's see what happens with the charge phase. Right, now let's see the results of these charges. The French square fired as the Scots Greys traversed its fronts, but fired to no effect. The British foot artillery battery fired at the first chasseurs Cheval, did do some casualties, but only caused 2 casualties. So we'll now roll for the effect of the charge. Let's do the Scots Greys first. So 2d6 for the Scots, they've only rolled 4. They're veterans, that makes it 5. They don't have anyone attached, they are heavy, that makes it 6. They're formed, they don't have an area of frontage, they don't have any casualties.
They do.
So they're, oh, they've got 1 casualty, so that makes no difference. So they're on 6. Right, let's roll for the chasseurs, Charlie.
Okay, so...
They've got quite a lot. They've got 8 casualties, so this will be at -2 to this dice roll and -1 more for being on a smaller frontage. So roll 2 dice. No, this is for the for these guys here.
Okay.
Okay, so this is at -3, and you need to get better than 6. What do we roll?
I got a 12.
-3 is 9. 9 against 6. My gosh, the chasseurs have 1. So cavalry versus cavalry, -3. The attacker melees unformed. The defender countercharges and melees with elan. So Scots Greys might still have a chance in that, but let's move the countercharge in. We need some elan and some unformed markers. Could you get a British unformed marker for me as well, Charlie, please?
Okay.
Got a good charge result. Thank you very much.
For the French, not the British.
We'll put the unformed on the Scots Greys. All right, now let's do the charge against the guns. 6 for the guns. They are just line. And no casualties, no casualties. Brigade is hesitant, -1, so that makes it a 5. Let's roll 2d6 for the French.
So, how many dice?
Just 2.
I got 2.
This is just like the last game Charlie played, where he rolled double 6 after double 6 after double 6. He's now rolled another 11 on his charge reaction. So 11. Just going through the modifiers. 2 casualties in the charge, that makes that a 10. But that's their first casualties. And that is it. Okay, so that was a 10 against a 5, so that's 3 to 5. Cavalry, melees with elan, and the defender is unformed. Nearly a ridden down, one more would have been a ride down, but it's again another melee. So the French cavalry on elan, and the artillery battery will be unformed. We'll come to the shooting and the melee results in a minute. So fairly remarkable set of melee results. The Scots Greys had 7 dice against the Chasseurs 4. The Scots Greys rolled every single one as a 1 or a 2. The Chasseurs caused 2 casualties, so they've pushed back the Scots Greys. A more predictable result against the artillery, where the Chasseurs only took 1 casualty and they have routed the British foot battery. We'll go and implement those results of the combats and be back with you in a second. We're at the end of turn 6, beginning of turn 7, so this is where we've ended up. We've got the French first Chasseurs breaking through the Allied line, destroying the British artillery battery and poised to crash into the end of that Dutch-Belgian line. You've got a very, very weak Chasseur regiment in support of them. You've got another weak Chasseur battalion that did the glorious melee against the Scots Greys. They've pulled back, but they have suffered heavy casualties, so probably won't expect them to see much more action in the game. You've got the French brigade of infantry now free to advance forward, and you've got some of Piret's lancers just arriving on the table. Have a look at them. There they are, just arriving on the table to drive off the Scots Greys.
But the battalion already has.
As the regiment already has, as the French Hope, and there's the French Reserve Brigade. Here are the Scots Greys, ignominiously thrown back right to the edge of the table and unformed, and they're hearing finally the recall blast being heard on the trumpet, and are looking to probably fall back to the main Allied lines at this part in the Battle of Waterloo. Meanwhile, on the French side, you've got some of the British light cavalry reinforcements coming in. They help screen the withdrawal of the heavy brigade after its attack on D'Erlon's corps, and they're moving up to reinforce the British lines around Papelotte. Otherwise, we'll see where we go to in turn 7. I imagine we'll be seeing the French assault coming in to follow their cavalry pretty quickly. Let's see how turn 7 plays out. Alright, we're on turn 8. The Allies have retained the initiative. All brigades in both armies are active, and we've done the first charge move. The Chasseurs à Cheval, who wiped out the artillery battery, have charged on into the Dutch Belgians. They should be 3 inches away, but because of the slope of that hill, they're sliding down a bit, so we have just left them there, but there's a notional 3-inch gap there. And the very weak Chasseurs à Cheval regiment is providing support. They will do the charge resolution now. All right then, Charlie, let's roll for this. 2 dice each, so I'll roll for the Dutch Belgians. I need to do a volley first, so we'll use that 6 for their volley results as they were charged. They've suffered still no casualties, so that will still be, as they are reservists, a standard volley. And a 6 is 1 casualty. That's 1 casualty on the Chasseurs à Cheval. I will mark that up in a second. Let's do the charge results. The Chasseurs have suffered... How many casualties have they suffered, Charlie?
The Chasseurs?
Yeah, I thought they'd only suffered 2. Although the marker there is saying 6.
No, they've taken 2.
They took 2 before the last combat. And they didn't take any. Did they take any from the artillery battery? They took 1, so they should be on 3. So they should be on 4 casualties now, I think. So we will we'll work on the basis they should be on 4 rather than the 6 it says on that dial. I think that's just wrong. I'm not sure why. All right, and I'm sure you can post below if I've done my maths wrong. Let's do the charge results. All right. So 2 dice for the Dutch Belgians. Oh, even better. They rolled a 5. They are line, that's no adjustment, they have no general attached, no lancers, they're not unformed. Infantry in line versus cavalry, so that makes that a 3. No casualties in the charge. So yes, the Dutch Belgians are on 3. Charlie, what did you roll?
11.
You really rolled an 11?
Yes.
Alright, so they've rolled 11. They did take, they do have 4 casualties. So that would be a 10, but that is victory. So they get to charge on, and they take 1 casualty, and the Dutch Beldens are ridden down. And then they will have enough distance to charge into that Hussar brigade, regiment rather, and we will do that in a second. I'll move the troops. We now have a massive hole in the Allied lines as the chasseurs of Cheval have now crashed into the Hussars. They rolled a 20 in their charge on distance, which will take them all the way into the Hanoverians if they need to. Alright, let's roll the charge reaction here. So 2d6 for the Hussars. Ah! They've rolled 12. That does look a little bit better.
12.
I don't believe it. He's just rolled another 12 as well. Alright, so you are charging on Charlie, so that makes you 13. You're not unformed, I don't think. Victory, what does victory give you? Charge on full distance roll. Victory as soon as may only take multiple charges within this distance. Take the ground and infantry recover 1 chance. Cavalry must charge on and do so as unformed. Okay, so you are still formed, so you're on 13. Narrower frontage, no, you haven't got narrower frontage. So I think you've won by 2. You've won by
1.
You've only got 3 casualties actually. We checked that, it wasn't 6, it read only as 3. And you got 12 to 13, I got 12, but I have a smaller frontage, so I'm on 11. So it's cavalry versus cavalry, and the score is 1 to 2. So attacker melees and the defender countercharges and melee. So we will just have a large melee there in the middle. Alright, we'll do that in the melee phase. This battle is looking like it's pretty much all over for the Allies, but we'll see. We'll give it another few more turns, see what happens. On to the movement and the firing phases.
The cavalry.
7, summary of movement and shooting. So French chasseurs have withdrawn. They've suffered quite heavy casualties, and this unit are also withdrawing. They've suffered 11 casualties, so they just want to avoid being destroyed. Meanwhile, the French infantry brigade is now advancing heavily on the Nassau strongpoint, with 1 battalion looking to outflank while the other 2 pinned to the front. French skirmishers have also moved off. Loosed a ragged load of fire and caused a 2nd casualty on that Nassau battalion. The Nassau riflemen and skirmishers have all broken into skirmish formation and also been shooting at the French skirmish line and caused a casualty there. Otherwise, the French horse artillery has now moved up and unlimbered and fired at the Dutch-Belgian line battalion and scores a single casualty despite unlimbering and moving in the turn. So lucky result for them there. Now to the big hand-to-hand combat in the middle. Charlie, 5 dice each. Let's look at the hand-to-hand combat table. Alright, so neither of us are heavy cavalry, neither of us are formed. I am a large unit. So, no, you are a large unit. You gain 1 combat dice, Charlie.
Okay.
No one has a general attached. Morale is the same on both units.
I'm heavy.
You're not heavy.
I am.
You've just got dragoon style helmets, the first chasseurs, raw German style helmets, but they aren't actually heavy. You have only 3 casualties, so no one gets a casualty adjustment, no one is unformed. That's it. So Charlie, you have 6 dice, I think, and I have 5. Yeah, just because you're a large unit. That's it. Yeah, 6 dice to 5. Let's see where we go. So the British have caused 2 casualties.
1.
And you've caused 1. All right, so that's pretty close. Casualty difference 1. Winner takes the ground. The loser retreats. All right. We will execute those results, but the British Hussars have thrown off the chasseurs for the moment.
Do you think?
Right, a summary of turn 8, really one of readjusting. The faltering Dutch-Belgian brigade, as a result of having the unit wiped out, resulted in the other battalion, even though it's only suffered 1 casualty, retreating nearly off the table edge. To fill its position, the Hanoverians have started forming, or started moving forward. They've all formed line, and this battalion here has moved forward with its skirmish screen, supported by the as yet unused British foot artillery battery. Meanwhile, the reinforcing light dragoons have moved on and will be joining the flank of the Hussars and hopefully filling the gap in the centre. While on the French side, the French Lancers have moved forward and the chasseurs à cheval, the various different regiments, have fallen back, having had various heavy casualties. The French infantry battalions are moving forward to assault the built-up area, potentially, and try and drive the Allies from the field. The French suffered quite a lot of skirmisher casualties to some very effective volleys from the Nassau and their skirmish screen, so they're considering doing a skirmisher tasking and dissolving their weakest infantry battalion down to skirmishers, because it's already got 8 casualties and won't be useful for much else. So watch out for that next turn. We'll move on to turn 9. Alright, we're on turn 9. The French retain the initiative and have decided to assault the Papelotte strong point, or built up area rather, and 1 French infantry battalion's gone in. In addition, the French Lancers are now having a go at the British Hussars, who are hesitant, so a good time for the French to go in. Otherwise, we will see probably some further reshuffling of the French reinforcements, and the French 2nd Brigade is now reaching the edge of the table, and we'll see it coming into action in turn 10. So let's do the results of this charge. Alright, so Charlie, you roll 2 dice, I roll 2.
I rolled a 6.
And the British have rolled a 6. So let's have a look at the adjustments. Neither of us are veteran, we're both line. Neither of us have a general attached. Lancers versus infantry, no. No.
Heavy? I'm heavy.
No, you're not heavy. No one's got any casualties, but the Hussars already have 6 casualties, so they're at -1. And they're hesitant, so they're at -2. So charge results, cavalry versus cavalry. It's 1 to 2. It's a just straightforward melee. So we'll see how that goes later in the turn. I'll move the units into contact. Alright, now to movement and the rest of firing. Right, this is turn 9. We've done a bit of shooting. The Hanoverian skirmishers have moved forward but caused no casualties on the French artillery battery. Oops, we've forgotten to fire the French artillery battery. Charlie, roll 2 dice for the French artillery battery.
Okay. A 5 and a 2.
That's a 7 and an effective range. Effective range is 1 casualty, so we'll do 1 casualty on the Hanoverians behind it.
Should I get the...
We'll do that in a minute. And then there's been some skirmish fire over there where they've exchanged shots, done a few casualties. And we're now just looking to the Lancers versus Hussars combat. So we both start with 5 dice. You got 5 dice, Charlie?
Yes.
Alright, now let's do our modifiers. No one's got any attachments, no one's charging on. Lancers not versus infantry. Unformed infantry square. Cavalry narrow frontage. No, they both have the same frontage. No casualties in charge. Unit casualties, -1 for the British, because they've already got 6 casualties, and the brigade is hesitant, so we lose another dice. That's it. So I get 3 dice. You should have 5, Charlie, for 5s or 6s.
I've got 2 casualties.
And I've got 2, so that's a draw. Just need to check. I think we might... Let's see what the... Oh, I was reading the wrong table. I was reading the charge reactions table. Let's just check that. Alright, let's do that one again, Charlie. So let's both start with 5 dice, because we better not do charge reactions for casualties. So we've both got 5 dice to start with. Neither of us are heavy. Formed Lancers versus Cavalry. Charlie, you get an extra dice.
Okay.
Large unit? No, you're not a large unit. I'm not a small unit. No one's got a general attached. Both have got the same morale grade. No one's got morale. I lose 1 because I have a casualty. I'm not unformed. That's it. So actually I get 4 dice and you get 6. Right, let's roll away. I did worse. I only got 1.
I got 3.
Okay, so you have won by 2. Cavalry versus cavalry. Winner returns to owns lines. Loser retreats. Okay, we'll complete those moves, and that will be the end of turn 9. At the end of turn 9, I'll show you what the battlefield looks like. We're going to take a break for the day, and we'll resume the game tomorrow at turn 10 with the release of the 2nd French Brigade. We'll see if the Allies have any more reinforcements to help what is a really pretty precarious position out. Oh, no, we better not do that. We've still got the combat in the farm to do. So let's remember, so there's 1 casualty on the chasseurs, and there were, what, 3 casualties on the hussars, was that right,
Yes.
Charlie? So we'll just mark that with some dice for a second, and we know that they're both retreating or retiring. Let's do the battle in the village. So I start with 5 dice, you start with 5 dice, Charlie. Okay, I'm a large unit, so I get an extra dice. You're 1 morale grade above me, and I am hesitant, but I don't think that makes a difference.
You have taken more. You have taken 3 casualties.
3 casualties is not enough
Look,
to make a difference. You lose a dice because you're attacking a built-up area, Charlie.
Well, I'm just going to check.
Yeah.
Oh, you've taken 2 anyway.
I've taken 2.
2, yeah.
All right.
Sorry.
So you're on 4 and I'm on 5.
Yeah.
Let's see how we do. So I've caused 2 casualties.
I caused. Wait, is it 4, 5s, and 6s?
Yeah.
Okay, I've taken 4.
You've caused 4 casualties. Oh my gosh.
I'll put it on.
Okay, so
So they're on 2
versus
and 4.
infantry in built-up area. You take the ground, and I have to retreat. So 4 casualties. So add 4 to my casualties, Charlie.
6 casualties.
And add 2 to the casualties on that French battalion, which I think are their first 2. They now
Should I
occupy
push
the
them
built-up
back
area
behind the
and
building?
fall. Absolutely. We'll do that movement and then give a recap at the end of turn 9. Here it is at the end of turn 10. British cavalry in disarray, the hussars retreating. Actually, we need another unformed marker, Charlie, to put on the light dragoons, because the hussars burst through them as they retired from the attacking lancers who won that hand-to-hand combat. And there's the Nassau battalion, now taking a lot of casualties as it's being pushed out of the village. And we have the 1st French battalion occupying the built-up area, and 2 more coming up into support. Various French chasseurs, not in an overly healthy state, and the very forward deployed horse artillery battery, which may need to be pulled back. Against that, not much left. So we have a foot battery and the Hanoverian Landwehr. So don't expect too much from them, and we'll see how the battle goes. But for the Allies, good news, and not so much for the French. There are uniforms in the distance, dark blue uniforms. The Prussians are coming. Let's see what happens as the Prussians arrive tomorrow.